When you're loud, baby, I can bring the shame.
Damn, you've got a nice voice.
Yeah? Let's go, I'm getting out of here, I'm never coming back.
Obviously, when your friend compliments your voice, the first thing you should do is drop out of high school. Obviously. This sets up his story well, as Abel was so determined to achieve his goals that he didn't care about the consequences, such as being homeless on the streets of Toronto, but that didn't stop him from making music. At the start of his career, Abel would make music anonymously as Tintin, joining a hip-hop group called Boys and Nerds. Soon he would pivot to his modern-day stage name, The Weeknd, and leave the group. However, when he was folding clothes at American Apparel one day, a very familiar song came on the radio. I hope you didn't think this story had any character development in it. Abel would immediately quit his job and pivot to making music full-time. And while he didn't catch much attention at first, his first official album would turn that around, House of Balloons. House of Balloons is to this day one of Abel's greatest albums. Its storytelling is incredible and it communicates a clear message while still feeling deep. It centers around going to clubs, dating off with a girl, not remembering her name in the morning, and then doing it all again. It showcases what a dark place that lifestyle can put you in, and it's especially impactful since it's probably the lifestyle that Abel himself had around this time. Listen to the lyrics. If it hurts to breathe, open a window. Don't go outside, cause this is a happy house. This is fun. This would be the moment where Abel would first gain popularity, especially with his track Wicked Games. All the newfound attention prompted him to turn this not into a standalone album but a trilogy, and through 2011 he made two more albums, Thursday and Echoes of Silence. House of Balloons is undeniably the best of the three, but the other two bring their own unique takes on the storyline and unique music to the table as well, also great albums. In 2012, he would compile these into a trilogy album, with 3 extra tracks to close out the storyline. Many people still consider these 3 albums his best work to date. After the trilogy, he would make one more album on his own, Kissland, in 2013. It didn't attract much attention, but fans really liked it, and it does have some great underrated tracks on it. But he had gained attention. He now had enough money to move into a house, and a lot of people were looking at what he was going to do next, including Universal Studios and E.L. James, who needed a song for the new movie 50 Shades of Grey. It did Abel a lot of money, so of course he agreed, and the song that would result from this would end up being his biggest hit yet. You might know this one. That might be because today it's accumulated 2 billion streams on Spotify. To put that into perspective, Gangnam Style only has 700 million. To make that make more sense, I should probably explain how streams are counted. Every time someone listens to a song for at least 30 seconds with their volume on, 1 stream is counted. In its case, that has happened over 2 billion times, which is a lot of times. Wicked Games, his most streamed trilogy track, only has around 700 million, making it much, much bigger. But he wouldn't stop there. The year is now 2015 and he's preparing for his next album. He made a track called In the Night that was set to be its lead single, but even though everyone he knew loved the track, Abel just didn't feel right about it. It was the same he had been doing before, so at the last second he pivoted the single. And this new single would take over the world, even more than Earned It. The single was Can't Feel My Face. Just like Earned It, Can't Feel My Face is today accumulated 2 billion streams, and in fact is slightly ahead of Earned It. There was no point in looking at today's stats when this song's dominance took place in the summer of 2015. This song was everywhere. You could not escape it. Today, Can't Feel My Face has over 1 billion more streams than In the Night does, which makes the decision to swap the singles look genius in retrospect. But let's move on. Abel's taken over the world, now it's time to follow up with a good project. In 2015, he would release his best album yet, Beauty Behind the Madness. This album contained The Hills, which also accumulated 2 billion streams, and in fact clears both Can't Feel My Face and Earned It by a lot, becoming Abel's first most streamed song of his career. It also contained Often, which has accumulated over 1 billion streams. This album was a breakout moment for Abel, but it wasn't without its controversies. Many fans were upset that he had moved away from the storytelling-focused albums of his past and seemingly abandoned where he had come from, the streets of Toronto. So he immediately set up about making another project to counter that. However, there was another problem. Drake. See, when Abel was first starting out, Drake actually attempted to sign him to his label, but Abel refused. This started a career-long rivalry between the two. And even though Abel just finished up his previous project, Drake has one scheduled for 2016 and Abel needs to outshine him. All of this would combine to make 2016 a historic year. Enter Starboy. Abel didn't have any time to promote it or anything. He just cruised right into the album rollout, and ended up quickly becoming his biggest success by far. The album's title track, Starboy, today is the third most streamed track of any artist. Yes, you heard me right, any artist. It has 4 billion streams. It's not like the rest of the album without its hits either. Die For You and I Feel It Coming each have 2 billion streams, with Die For You actually sitting on 3 billion. Sturgill Interlude, a 1-minute track simply meant to bring down the pace of the album, blew up and hit 1 billion streams, becoming the only interlude ever to do so. But my personal favorite hit off the album is Reminder, because it's a direct response to the haters from Beauty Behind the Madness. He writes the song as if it was straight off of House of Balloons, making fun of his haters, his fans, and even Nickelodeon. Now, Drake's album became huge too, now sitting at number 20 of all time, but Starboy sits at number 2, with a combined total of 17 billion streams, only beaten by Bad Bunny's Un Verano Sin Ti. But it wasn't all good for Abel. Around this time, he broke up with Selena Gomez, and it affected his personal life a lot. So despite his go-go-go attitude towards previous projects, he would largely take a break for a couple of years, but in 2018 he would return with a 6-song mini-project entitled My Dear Melancholy. Even on a mini-project, he had big hits. Call Out My Name is accumulated 2 billion streams today. It's suspected he wrote the song about Selena, but he's never spoken on it, so it's not confirmed. He has been seen crying while performing the song live, so I'd say it's pretty likely. The project also contained I Was Never There, which also has 1 billion streams today. But now with that success, Abel was motivated to come back and drop some more music, so he would begin work on a historic album cycle. He would start working on After Hours. In summer of 2019, he opened with the lead single, Heartless. This track is an abrupt turnaround from My Dear Melancholy, being a semi-aggressive rap track about going back to your old ways. It might seem random and out of place now, but it'll all make sense later. But that's not what matters right now. What matters is the second single, because this single would change the world forever. Nothing was ever really the same in pop music after this single. It's the biggest hit of the 2000s and debatably the biggest hit of all time, as well as being the only song on Spotify ever to cross over 5 billion streams. This is Blinding Lights. Now you might think I've already listed off this song's accomplishments, but no, I've got more. It's statistically the most successful song of all time on the Billboard Hot 100. Additionally, while Apple Music doesn't track specific streaming numbers, it did rank 9th of all time on their top 500 list that they posted a while back. This is undeniably Abel's highest peak yet, and he wrote it straight into the After Hours album drop, which revolutionized the world again, because the storytelling is back like it never left. This album tells the story of a breakup that leads to a series of chaotic events and ultimately Abel's fictional death. But that's not all, the whole thing is a metaphor for hell. He breaks up with the girl at the start before ODing and falling into a coma. He nearly gets her back, only to realize it was all a dream, and realizing the only way out is death, bleeds out. A dark story, sure, but a dripping one. Today, Save Your Tears has accumulated over 2 billion streams. Heartless also hit 1 billion, as well as a track called In Your Eyes reaching 1 billion streams. But most importantly, the title track After Hours would reach 1 billion streams. This is one of his most well put together songs, adds a climax to the entire story, and is my personal favorite track of his entire discography. It's a summary to the album's events, but also a climax of them. It's very emotional, but also upbeat. It's just a perfect blend of everything, and that's why I love the song so much. After Hours today is the 5th most streamed album of all time with over 15 billion streams, rivaling Starboy's dominance with a more polished project overall. And it was so good that you just simply couldn't resist doing it again. Enter Dawn FM. Dawn FM was an experimental new direction for Abel, leaning much more heavily into 80s pop elements in his music. Additionally, while it's a continuation of After Hours, it's structured entirely differently, being narrated by a fictional radio host voiced by Jim Carrey. This album takes you through the events leading up to After Hours, as well as a relationship after the events of After Hours. You might remember Abel is dead, so that shouldn't be able to happen, right? Well, it'll be all explained later. See, at the end of the album, the last track loops back into the first one. A neat touch, sure, but it reveals something about the album. It's not just one storyline, but a loop, forcing Abel to reconsider his decisions over and over until he learns to make better ones. This album was significantly less of a commercial success than Starboy and After Hours, but it appealed to a certain audience that gave it a cult following. Additionally, its consistency is arguably the best in his career. I mean, there's such a long list of songs: Take My Breath, How Do I Make You Love Me, Out of Time, Is There Someone Else, Less Than Zero, Gasoline, that all became hits. Additionally, this was his first album in a while to have features, with both Lil Wayne and Tyler the Creator. He used features like Lana Del Rey earlier in his career, but he hadn't used them in a while, and this would signal a shift in style, which I'll get to later. Dawn FM wasn't a big hit, but it was enough for Abel to finish up a trilogy. However, between these albums, something interesting happened. Up to this point, Abel's been pretty mysterious. He was anonymous at the start of his career, and he still doesn't do things other artists would, like fan meetups or autograph signings. This would all change in 2023 when Abel made a decision. He wants to be an actor now, but he still wants to make music. Thus, The Idol came into existence. The Idol is a short TV series about, well, actually I have no idea what it's about, because the reviews are so atrocious I never bothered to watch it. But at least we got some music out of it. Now, not all songs from The Idol are Abel's. Some other artists made songs as well. Also, the song called One of the Girls blew up. I still have just no clue why that happened. Most of the singing is done by Jenny in this song, and, nothing interesting happens, just like the rest of The Idol's existence. Anyways, finally begun his next album cycle, and he's announced a corresponding movie. Just what we needed. Yes, the movie is also terrible. This will be his last foray to filmmaking. Moving on to more important things now, such as the fact that his career is over. Wait, what? So, there's a problem. Abel is tired of being The Weeknd. There's an interview where he talked about it and said,
I would be super, hyperbolic here a little bit, but it felt like I had nothing else to say, Like, it felt like, that's what it kind of felt like to me. I was on stage and it's like, I've said everything I can say as this person. Yeah. And now it's time for me to take that next step, and this...
He's said all that he can. He's built up such a compelling story around The Weeknd that he has nowhere left to go with it. This next album will be his last before he retires and named The Weeknd for good. So, how was the album? Hurry Up Tomorrow was clearly always intended to be a finale. It picks up where Dawn FM left off, and everything seems to be going well for him. Although, really, it's a thin veil. If you look closer, you can see tons of personal struggles with himself throughout the album. But he still finds success, and this reveals something about the entire trilogy. After Hour was hell, Dawn FM was purgatory, and Hurry Up Tomorrow was heaven. Think about it, in After Hours his life sucked and everything went wrong. Dawn FM was a lot more reflective of what he had his entire lifetime, and Hurry Up Tomorrow we see some success. It's the story of a soul climbing from the depths of hell to the heights of heaven, but a soul that still can't save itself. And in the story, he believes it's because of The Weeknd. So he, Abel, kills The Weeknd off and moves on to a better life. And at the end of the album, his very last track is The Weeknd. Something interesting happens. The closing track, Hurry Up Tomorrow, the title track, transitions into high for this, which was my very first song on House of Balloons. A neat detail that boosts the discography, right? Wrong, it's so much more than that. This recontextualizes not just this album, not just the trilogy, but his entire discography. Because suddenly, everything that's happened, all of those events I told you about, are a loop. These are not one-time events. Abel will relive these over and over again. Why, you ask? Because he couldn't change his ways. He was given a chance in Dawn FM. He even seemed reflective and ready to change at the end of Hurry Up Tomorrow. But then he'll just simply go back to his old ways from House of Balloons afterwards. Until he learns, he will relive these same events over and over, forever. Only a truly genius artist could design their discographies this well, to a point of everything connecting 13 years after it all started. So, that's a complete history of The Weeknd. Abel will probably make more music at some point, and his After Hours Till Dawn tour is still ongoing, so it's not like it's all over yet. But there will be no more The Weeknd music, which is why I thought this would be a great topic for a video. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.